We'll do our welcome. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Academy Chat from the National Association of Academies of Science. I'm so glad you all are tuning in today. I'm Amanda Fuller. I'm the past president of the National Association, and I'm also the executive director of the Kentucky Academy. I do want to go around and introduce ourselves because there's always new people on here, and it's great to get to know everybody. Our hosts today are myself and Donna Girardi, who is our current president, and also Hallie Thompson, who is part of our admin team. So you'll be hearing from all of us today. But we are delighted that you're here. We are here because of you. And we hope that what we have to tell you today is helpful and useful to you in your academies. So let's do introductions. And yes, if you could put your state academy in your name, if you want to rename yourself and put your state in there if you haven't already, that would be great. And I will turn it over to Donna and we will go around, and I'd love to know who's all with us today.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm Donna Girardi. I'm the president of the organization right now, and I am currently a senior advisor at the Washington State Academy of Science, where until recently I was the executive director for 7.5 years. Turn it over to Adam.
Hey, I'm Adam Ryburn with the Oklahoma Academy of Science, and I serve as the executive director.
Dave Schultz.
As Donna said, my name is Dave Schultz. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm the current president of the New Mexico Academy of Science, and I work at Sandia National Laboratory here in Albuquerque. Good afternoon.
Great, thank you. Joseph Cameron. You are on mute.
It's Joe. I'm sorry, it was unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Joseph Cameron, Jackson, Mississippi, with the Mississippi Academy of Science, the representative for the NAAS and the AJS acting.
Thank you. Okay, Susan. You're on mute.
Muted also.
There we go. More caffeine. Hi, my name is Susan Myers. I am the editor of the the Transactions of the Illinois State Academy of Sciences, and I am fortunately retired. Don't hate me. But I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, Ham.
Ham Benghazi. I'm the exec director of Mississippi Academy of Science.
Okay, great. So we have two from Mississippi. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, great.
Yes,
okay.
We have the boss and the associate.
Great. Okay, Gene.
That's me, I guess. Gene Stuffle. I'm the executive director of the Idaho Academy of Science and Engineering, and I'm retired from Idaho State University.
Great. Okay. Vinay?
Hi, I'm Vinay Raj. I'm the president-elect for the Arkansas Academy of Sciences.
Great. Paul?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm Paul Doss. I'm past president of the Indiana Academy of Science and the current director of INSPECT, which is our Indiana Science Policy, Educate, Collaborate, Transform. It's our Science Policy Fellowship program that we're trying to get up and running here in Indiana.
Great, thank you. Okay, and Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig Group. I'm the vice president of the Virginia Academy of Science, and I'm a physics professor at the University of Virginia.
Great, thank you. All right, and with that, we'll turn it over to Hallie.
Do my introduction?
Yes.
Okay, I thought Amanda already introduced me, sorry. Hallie Thompson, I help staff the National Association of Academies of Science, and I think a few of you talked to me on the phone, or I tried to talk to you on the phone, so thank you. But yeah, excited to be here and talk about the future of NAAS and all of your organizations and how we're gonna work together. And I apologize in advance for my audio. I'm in a coffee shop that is much louder than normal, and my headphones have stopped working again for the third time in the last 2 weeks. I think I might be cursed.
Okay, thanks. Well, join as you can. Okay, back to you, Amanda.
Great. Thank you all for being here. We are recording it, so hopefully other folks can get the information if they weren't able to make it with us today. I do want to say that we do these programs about once a month, and we've been doing them for a few years now. If you have tuned into these before, I know some of you have. We try to do topics that are, sometimes requested by our academies or things that, people have to share that we think is useful. So that whole series is at our website. If you want to tune in to future ones or watch recordings from previous sessions, there could be topics there that are interesting and useful to you. And if you have requests or programs that you'd like to see or something that you'd like to share and present about, please let us know. We are still working on that schedule for 2025, and we are here to serve you. So today, I am very, very excited because we have never been able to do this before, to bring you a program and tell you that we have money for you. We have gotten a grant from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation that is allowing us to do some really important capacity building work for our state academies. And that this year is taking the form of offering you some strategic planning grants. We are doing 5 this year and 5 next year. And we're particularly excited about this because it's been on our radar for a few years to do more capacity building. We want some of the state academies, particularly ones that are very low budget or ones that don't have staff. We're trying to get you to a higher level to be able to do more in your states. We've also heard from you that you want help doing strategic planning. We did extensive surveys in 2022, and maybe some of you were the people who filled those out, maybe you weren't, but the folks who did fill those out for the state academies told us that they're interested in doing strategic planning and getting support for that. So we've been stewing on it for a while, and this year we're making the first round of those grants available. So we're going to go through what that entails. I want to tell you why I think strategic planning is so helpful and great. When I did this with my organization, it was for the first time, it was 2015. And I was new with my organization at the end of 2013. So I had about a year to get my feet under me and get to know who was who and what was what in my organization. And so we did our first strategic planning in 2015. My experience with that was that it really brought our board together. It gave us a sense of purpose. It got people in a room together and gave them a chance to get to know each other, and gave us a sort of sense of, being oriented and being like driven toward the same goals. We made some modest and attainable goals in that first strategic plan. And it was great for me as a staff person because I had something to go back and check every few months. Am I doing this? Are we doing this? Is there somebody else who's helping with this other thing? And it was modest, but because it was the first one that we did, those things were achievable. And then 5 years later, I went back and said, you know what, we've basically checked everything off this list. And so not only was it sort of guidance for me and mile markers along the way, but it also really gave our board a sense of unity, that we all know what we're here for and what we're doing. I was also president in 2020 and 2021 and 2020. What year did we do strategic planning, Donna? 21 and 22, I think.
22, 23.
When NAAS did our strategic planning. And that was also a really great experience for the board of the National Association. It brought us together when we were going through a little bit of a rough patch and needed a sense of unity to sort of check in together about what is our purpose, what's our mission. It gave the board a chance to really get to know each other. And then our strategic plan is now on our website. So if you all haven't looked at that, you can see what we put down. It also gave us a chance to work with a couple of fantastic people who still work with us. And Rachel Owen and Hallie Thompson are two people who have remained on our admin team. They are the people who we are wanting you all to work with to do your strategic plans as well, because we're just so delighted with how well they understand the work of the state academies and what a good job they did facilitating us through that process. Donna, do you want to add anything here at the beginning about the value of strategic planning?
Just a little bit from our experience here in Washington to kind of add on to what you said. So I was the executive director of the Washington State Academy of Sciences, and I started that position at around the same time I started to become involved with the NAAS and became an at-large board member. And when I became part of this group, I realized that when you meet one academy, you actually meet one academy. And there was so much diversity in approaches to the missions. Our academy in Washington was set up with a very specific mission, which is science policy advising to state government. And but yet our organization was itself going through a transition. So we went through a strategic planning process beginning in about 2018 with our board of directors. It's a governing board of directors. So it was critically important for them to really understand in maybe a clearer way of what their role was, and also what the mission of the organization was, how the executive director and the board could work together, how we could, I'm mixing my metaphors here, but how we could all be rowing in the same direction around our mission, which is science in the service of Washington State. And so we came up with it was a facilitated process. With us, it was a facilitated process by one of our board members who actually came from industry, and so was very used to mechanisms that worked or didn't work well with the kind of scientific and technical audience that we had as board members. And so we came up with just very few key topics that have guided our work ever since then. And we would revisit that every couple of years and say, are we on track or are we not? Where can we grow from here? And it has just been a really useful process to get everyone on the same page and create, given our resources, achievable goals that are relatively measurable from year to year to year, and so that we could show successes and therefore be able to make better cases for our funders and our clients and the people we're trying to serve, that in fact this is what we're doing with the resources we have, and it's having this impact that is in service to our mission. So I too have become a big fan of strategic planning. And I'll say parenthetically, and that's a real shift from where I was earlier in my career, where I thought, oh my God, I can't do another SWOT analysis. I can't do it. And so, but it's all about, meeting the needs of an organization and where they are at that time. And that's what we're hoping that we can bring to this group.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. When we did our strategic planning for the first time, we were kind of a conventionally organized state academy. We were at that point 101 years old. Kentucky wasn't the first one to do anything. An old Mark Twain joke about that. Some of your organizations are older than that. But we, did a lot of the things that our counterparts do in other states. We had an annual meeting, we had a journal, we had members in higher education and things like that. The opportunity to really examine our position as a scientific organization in the state of Kentucky really motivated our board at that time to recognize opportunities that we had to be a much more outward facing organization. So we still have an annual meeting, we still have a journal, but we now do outreach programs. We do more policy work than we used to do. We started a speakers bureau. we made an intentional pivot to be able to rise to some of the opportunities that we saw in Kentucky that no other organization was really doing. And so that was very powerful and impactful. And I have heard some other state academy leaders also say that maybe you feel like you are looking for what that next chapter is for your organization, or how to respond to some challenging times that we are facing in our different environments. And so I'm excited for us to do that. And it's never a bad time, but it's like just a really good time right now. I think for scientific organizations to be taking stock of what we are, and what we do. So, and I don't want to say anything more about that because we're sick of hearing about it. Probably at this point. Okay, so given that, I want Donna to say a little bit more about the National Association and where we are and how this fits in to the other things that we're trying to do for our members right now. And then we'll go and talk about the grants specifically.
Great. Okay. So I like to say that I have become very much of an evangelist for the importance of states and state level action, especially the scientific community in states. I say that often in the context of the associations I have. And the role of states has become even more important, and the role of organizations like each of ours is starting to take on an significance and importance and strategic importance that it never had before. I want to start by thanking Amanda for having the leadership a few years ago when it was desperately needed to get this organization on a track where we really could provide more opportunities for not only our organization and its operations, but also the capacity to reach out more to our member organizations so that we could create opportunities to both learn from each other and share with each other the things that we're doing. And so we're getting there. But the National Association and all of us as state academies also is part of a much bigger picture of activities that are happening right now in the science policy community. There and not just science policy, but in the way that the state, the scientific community interacts with its own communities at the local and the state levels. We're kind of used to thinking that everything happens at the national level through the national organizations, whether it's our professional associations in disciplines, or through universities, or through other national level organizations. But now things are shifting where there really is a much greater attention to what is happening at the state level and how state organizations can participate more in a two-way interaction between national organizations wanting to interact more with the state level, and state level organizations wanting and needing to interact more with the national level. And it really is both. So given the conversations that I'm having right now, there's a great interest by other organizations, including the national academies and the AAAS and Sigma Xi, big organizations like that, to interact more with the states. And so in order for that to happen, we want to be able to help you as academies become as strong as you can be. Now, related to that, there are also a lot of other organizations that are popping up around the nation that are organized to have a certain audience that they're speaking to along a continuum of career where people are in their careers, from graduate students and postdocs to early career researchers to universities, state science and technology fellows programs. There's just a whole number of them. And the state academies are a critical part of a growing ecosystem of organizations around the nation. And we want to build this group of academies to be a really critical piece of that growing and really important ecosystem of advisors and key partners and trusted entities in states. And so the timing of this is really terrific because one of the, or the lead funder for those types of emerging activities has been the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation. They have funded many kinds of activities around the country, including seeding the funding for the beginnings of science and technology fellowship programs in many states, starting in California. But now there are programs emerging in a lot of different places, and I don't know where did you go, Dave? No, is it Dave? I don't know, where did Indiana go? If you received any GBMF funding, but anyway, they are a key player, and we had a conversation with them about Amanda and I had a really great conversation with them, that they knew who we were. But the conversation was about where can the NAAS fit in this ecosystem. And so we received this grant from them to help build capacity among the academies. So we crafted a proposal to them and they accepted it, and we received funding for this at the very end of the 2024 calendar year. And the key pieces of it are for us as the national organization to be able to provide technical assistance grants to a certain number of states over the next 2 years. That's a piece of it, and we'll go into more details about what we're envisioning for this program. But I just wanted you to know that while this is a grant to our organization, we really view it as fitting into a much larger set of activities that are emerging across the nation and especially within states. So any questions about anything we've said so far before we dive into some more details? Okay, and if not, we'll turn it over to, who's next? Is it Hallie or Rachel or
It's
Amanda?
me again. But we had a couple new people pop on. So if either of you folks who came on more recently, do you want to say hi, introduce yourselves, folks who joined us late?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I just got back to my office. I'm Jamie Newman. I'm a biology professor at Louisiana Tech University, and I'm kind of representing Louisiana Academy of Sciences, who I think someone talked to recently. So excited to be here. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sharon?
There you
Yeah,
go.
I was trying to get it to unmute. Sorry, I just got back in my office as well, and actually I'm in my lab, but I'm Sharon Hamilton. I am the president of Arkansas Academy of Science, and I teach chemistry at Ouachita Baptist University in Southwest Arkansas. And so I'm here along with one of my colleagues from Arkansas.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. Good to see you all here. Okay, I am putting a link in the chat. So if you want to follow along at home, you can find all this information on our website. And then Hallie's also offered to put together an FAQ if we have questions that come out of the session today, or if we become aware that we have overlooked important details. Add a little more information there to answer questions. We've never done this before. We're putting this together for the first time, and yeah, we are going to do it again next year, so we can tweak it if we need to. Okay, so I guess I can go to the website and maybe share my screen from there. So give me a second, I'll do that. Oh, Hallie, will you make me a co-host?
I made
I
it
can
where
share.
you should be able to
Or do you
share,
want to
Amanda.
follow? Sorry?
You should be able to
Okay.
share.
Okay, thank you. Or you could share it either way. Okay, so this is at the link I put in the chat. We are doing this for 2 years in a row, and the value of the grant is going to be $10,000. So this is a technical assistance grant, which means it's not a check that we write to your organization. It's not cash. You don't have to report it as income. It is basically an in-kind grant that is a $10,000 value, where we are hiring consultants on your behalf to help you facilitate your strategic planning process. Included in the award is travel for one person from your academy to go to a meeting in Boston in August. This is the National Council of State Legislators, which is a group that coordinates the Science and Technology Policy Fellowship initiatives and sort of is a clearinghouse for those initiatives across different states. So it's a great opportunity to network and meet people who do policy work at the state level and other folks who are involved in education and STEM in different states. So we do expect participation from your full board, and the application form does ask for some reassurances about who's participating in your process. We are going to do these as a combination of virtual and in person. We, in NAS's case, we did our whole thing virtually, but we recognize, you know, we're all across the country. So getting together is much more challenging for us in your states. Hopefully you can get together at least for one in-person gathering. And we're planning on facilitating that with our facilitator who will travel to your state to do that one in-person visit. Donna, do you have a question?
I would just like to say something else about the NCSL meeting in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
This is a really incredible opportunity, I think. NCSL is an organization that has representation from legislators from all of your states, as well as the legislative staff people. And so you can imagine that the portfolios of issues in that group is everything across the board, including education, science policy, water, and AI,
Higher education, research, yeah.
Everything. So there will be issues within NCSL that will touch upon whatever it is that your academies are interested in, whether it's the public or STEM education or other things. And so it is an incredibly valuable networking opportunity and also a window into how legislators think about issues and their staff. And so this is a part of the grant that, interestingly enough, the funder insisted on, because they see scientists in the scientific community understanding this community as being critically important to the success of communications and interactions at the state level. So they're providing that opportunity for us and for you as whoever's selected as the grantees.
Thank you. That's, yeah, excellent context. Thank you so much. Okay, so your responsibilities, if you get one of these awards, is we will have an agreement with you outlining your responsibilities. You will need to assemble your board for one in-person session, and then you will be responsible for the accommodations for probably just one night and any per diem expenses for our facilitators during your in-person strategic planning session. We pay all the other costs, but that is one thing that you will have to commit to matching is those accommodations and that per diem expense. Your board and staff will also participate in the rest of the strategic planning sessions virtually. And then we also want you to participate in the coaching calls and in some academy chats while you're engaged in the strategic planning. We want everybody to participate in the academy chats like all the time. But we do want to see your faces more. We want to hear from you about what you're doing and, you know, welcome you into our community so that we can just get to know all of you better. And then Hallie will talk a little bit more about the coaching calls after we get through the grant details. We talked about NCSL. The final report will be due to us at the end of the planning process. We have the deadlines down here below. And then at the end, we are putting you in charge of implementing your plan. We are here to help you. We have a whole community to support you and give you feedback and support along that way. And we have some resources which are actually in the sidebar, but this website too. So we can go through what that toolkit has already available to you and how we're building that out as well. But yes, you are not just responsible for putting a plan together, but knowing how you want to make your dreams come true. So the timeline is as follows. The application deadline is March 15th. I will say that application is fairly modest and straightforward. It's not an onerous application. We will be reviewing those on the Member Services Committee, and then the full board will also be approving those awards on April 2nd at our board meeting. On April 15th, we will be announcing those awards and getting those agreements signed with our 5 awardees. And then your strategic planning will get underway. You should have some idea of what that timeline will look like for you and your organization. In the application, I think we ask you to show us that you've thought about how that will work for you. Are you planning on getting people together over the summer? Do you have events that are already on your calendar that you're either working with or working around? Or if this timeline is a problem for you, we also want you to tell us that and let us know, if you need special accommodations or what would work better. And then right now we have final reports due November 30th of 2025. It's not a generous amount of time, but we also think you want to get down to business. And so we don't want you to spend so much time planning that people get sick of the process and aren't still excited about implementing your plan by the time you get it put together. So some of the criteria that we are using to select our academies for these awards, we want to see that you're engaged and interested. We want to see that your board of directors is really excited about this and ready. We want to see that you have some need and you understand what the challenges are in putting that strategic plan together. Maybe you always have new board members, hopefully, as people rotate on and off. Do you have some new circumstances that are facing your organization? Are you ready for a reorg? Do you have a new staff person? Something like that. Like, tell us what your circumstances are where you feel like your organization is ready for strategic planning right now. We are prioritizing academies with those annual budgets of less than $75,000. I think most of the organizations on this call today probably fall in that category. We want to get you out of that category, but that's part of what strategic planning maybe will help you identify some strategies for. If you don't have any staff, but you're ready to hire some staff, or if you have some kind of very minimal staffing and you want to increase that by a lot, that's also something we want to know from you. So tell us about that. If you have a representative on the NAAS board, that's okay. We actually have a number of academies. We've tried to, comprise our board of as many academies as possible. We don't want to count those academies out. We just want to make sure that there's separation there. And so folks who are reviewing the applications are not the same people who are making the applications for those grant funds. So we are managing that on our board, but we wanted our board members to know that their organizations are still eligible as long as somebody else is a lead on that application and the lead on the process. You should be current in your dues to NAAS. If you haven't renewed those dues yet this year, you can renew them anytime. You can renew them right now. It's probably $100 if you are in that lowest budget category. So hopefully that's not a hardship for anybody's organization. If you need a new copy of that invoice, let us know. We can make sure that that invoice gets to the right person so that you can renew your dues and be current in your affiliation. And then we'd also love to see that you have been involved in some of our programming. So for example, if you've come to this event, that's great. We see that you showed up to an Academy chat. If you've showed up to Academy chats in the past, we see that you are involved and you know who we are. Maybe you came to our national meeting in Boston and you participated in the Junior Academy. If you know who we are and you've been engaged, that's a great sign that you are engaged and involved and that you are exercising your leadership in your state academy. And then exploring options to engage in science policy advising. Donna mentioned this and mentioned that our funder is very interested in building capacity in the states for doing more policy work. Here are some ways that some state academies have been looking at, and some resources that are available to folks involved in science policy. If you are connected with any of these or interested in any of these models, please do mention that in your application, or if you haven't been involved, that's okay too. But we'd like to know, we'd like to gauge kind of what the interest level is on your board within your organization for getting more involved in policy at the state level. Any questions so far about that?
Can I just add one thing? We realize that in some states, there are both senior academies and junior academies. Sometimes they work closely together, sometimes they don't. And not forcing anything, but maybe could be an opportunity as well to do some planning together around if that's desirable within the state. We don't want to force anything to happen, but it's just, as I said, or in my opening remarks, when you've met one state, you've met one state. And we realize everybody does things differently for various reasons. But if there has been any desire in your states, if you represent a state that has that situation, maybe this is an opportunity to have open up a conversation.
Absolutely. And I think, for us, at least when we did our strategic planning, one of the elements of that process is kind of a landscape analysis of who else is in your state, in your STEM landscape, right? Who are your friends and allies? Who are your partners? Who are the people who are have science in their name that you don't talk to? We are guilty of that too. We have organizations that we're not really in touch with that probably we should be. So yeah, hopefully your facilitators will coach you through some of that process in the outset of your planning process. Any questions, things we overlooked?
I have a
here?
question.
Yes.
Would the Junior Academy of Science have to submit their own application, or do we have to split it with them?
That is an interesting question.
We're trying to get a little more active with our Junior Academy of Science, especially in terms of resources for them. So I guess, well, hello. This is Casey. Casey. Say goodbye, Casey. My assistant. And I was wondering, should I encourage them to apply as well? Or and we're back. Or should we apply and then, incorporate ways to assist our Junior Academy? And
my short answer to this would be the latter. We wrote this application and this whole solicitation with the Academy of Science organization in mind, and not a Junior Academy of Science in mind. And yes, like Donna said, we recognize that in some states those are very separate organizations. The opportunity is really tailored for the Academy of Science itself. And so I would think like forming a partnership with the Junior Academy may make a lot of sense for you. But this application wasn't really with that organization in mind, if that makes sense. Good question.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you could hear me.
I can hear you.
Can we get copies of the presentation information for the grants that you went through?
Yes. You were saying the recording from right now, from this session?
Not necessarily the printed copy of what that was showing on the screen. Missing all of that information.
Yeah, this is at our website. Can you see the URL up here? academiesofscience.org.
So that's all on the website.
Yes.
It is all on our website, and in the chat, I put this link before I started sharing my screen. So if you have your chat open, you can hopefully go straight to that link and find it there and share it with other members of your board.
Is that the Kentucky website, or is that the
this is the National Association of Academies of Science.
Okay.
So we are your association for all the academies across the whole country.
Okay, so we can just go to the NAAS website and get that information.
That's right. If you have the chat open, I would use that link in the chat. Otherwise, you can go fishing for it, academiesofscience.org. You'll have to go through our menu, but you can definitely find it there.
Well, I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
an expert on this, so
Oh,
That's
so Joseph, there's something called the chat at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that, it has the little bubbles. Click on that, and it'll pop up on the right side of your screen, and the link will be right in there for you.
I see. Thank you.
Mhm.
One other question for the this NCSL meeting, the National Conference of State Legislators. Do you know or have a listing of which state legislators would attend, so that the people will be looking forward to having their people there or whatever?
That's a great question. We can ask that question to our friends at NCSL. They might be able to provide a list of who's registered. That might be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can jump in, this is Paul Doss from Indiana. I've been to the last two NCSL meetings, and I know there is some level of discomfort with simply providing a directory of attendees.
Okay.
However, I think you can potentially find out if a particular individual is attending. At least that was my experience last year, because I put in a similar inquiry about Indiana representatives and wasn't able to get. It's a privacy issue and just not handing out information. But there were representatives, as far as I could tell, from every single state in the union, as well as territories. So
That's
Okay.
interesting. It seems like they don't want you to know that they're going to be there.
no, I think it's NCSL not wanting to give out private information.
Right.
Name and the state is not private.
Well, then I recommend you go ahead and ask.
You could ask them ask your state legislators yourselves. Yeah.
One more question I had on the meeting. Boy, where you were saying that the representative would have the responsibility of one night and per diem. How long is the meeting, and how many nights are we there?
So that's in reference to when our facilitator will come and do one in-person meeting with your academy. So whenever you all schedule that, you'll do some virtual sessions. You'll have at least one in-person gathering with our facilitator on site with you in your state. And then you might do more work virtually. So when that person is with you, it might be one night, it might be 2 nights. Your academy is responsible for putting that person up and then feeding them. Or basically for one day, or it's probably just a 1-day meeting. So whether it's 1 night or 2 nights, we just want to make it clear that that is your contribution from your academy, that you're responsible for putting that person up while they're in your state.
And that is prior to submitting the application, or is that
No. It's if you were to receive a grant, it's during that grant period.
I see. Okay. All right.
And the schedule, you'll work that schedule out with your facilitator.
Okay.
I want to ask something. I want to ask something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna clarify the answer. There's actually, Joseph, at the meeting for NCSL, there's like a state gathering for each state that you can go to if you're interested in meeting folks that are there. So when you're there, the schedule, or a little before when you get the schedule, it'll become clear. And then when you're there, you can go to that room and go to like the state breakfast or hang out outside the state breakfast. If you don't want to go to the meeting, you want to talk to them after. So they tend to hang out in a group, and it's quite lovely when you're there. So sorry, just wanted to dig in on that a little bit more, because it's kind of hard to know if you haven't been before.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I also appreciate all the good questions. I'm getting a lot of good FAQ information.
Great. Okay, well then I think
So,
if there are no more other questions, I was going to turn it over to you next, Hallie, to talk a little bit more about the coaching calls and the
excuse me.
toolkits. Oh, sorry. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
One question. So in terms of the timeline for the grant, my understanding it's for a year, right? So, and then, so we can schedule the person who's visiting us anytime during the middle or towards the end or something. And what would be the final deliverable from this? Like what would we submit at the end of as a report, or what do we do at the end?
Yes, that we right now have your final report due on November 30th. So the working period is actually less than a year. We want you to get to work as soon as those grant agreements are signed in April, and then spend April to November, working with your own organization, however that schedule works for you, and with our planning with our facilitators. And then, hopefully you all have some sort of strategic plan finished that you can submit as part of your deliverables in November. But then also there'll be a report about the process. We want to hear from you about what the process was like and any other insights that you had to go along with that actual plan. So we'll have a little bit more to the report, but that the strategic plan is the big part that you'll show us.
Okay, thank you.
That was a very interesting question, though. The grant is just for 1 year, or can you submit for 2, 3 years?
It's a season. It's not really a full year. Like I said, the report will be due in November, but there'll be 5 in 2025, and then we're planning 5 grantees again in 2026.
Thank you.
Okay, so Hallie, I will turn it over to you to talk more about the coaching calls and toolkits, because even if you choose not to apply for a grant this year, or if you apply and don't get a grant this year, there are also like these other wonderful ways that you can take advantage of some of our resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Amanda. So we'll also have additional resources available through the grant for all of our member academies. New or longtime members are all welcome. We will have coaching calls available through myself and Rachel Owen for 2 times a year for academies to do like a deep dive conversation about your academy, how things are working, if there are areas we can dig into that NAAS can be helping with. I would kind of consider it like a mini pre-strategic planning call in some ways. And for folks that might not be applying this year or might not have the capacity to apply the coaching calls might be helpful this year, and then get you ready basically to apply in our season for our grants next year. So we're hoping that they can be a nice pairing, and happy to email back and forth about those if you have any questions and get things scheduled. You can always get a hold of us at the admin@academiesofscience.org. I actually dropped it in the chat as well. For any questions or getting on a schedule, that's the best place to go. We'll also have, and we currently do, Amanda talked about some of our resources we already have on the website, but our hope with this grant is that we can have more high quality resources as far as like toolkits are concerned, based on our deep listening with you all, with every state we can get a hold of. We're hoping to learn the resources that are most helpful for us to document and have available on the NAAS website. Not just static resources that live there, but things that we're updating based on what we're learning that are more responsive to your all's continual needs. And then I think a big part of this also is the Academy chats are a place where we're doing a lot of this listening outside of the one-on-one coaching and the strategic planning. So coming back here, to have conversations, we're hoping to have some check-ins after everyone does the strategic planning, so that we can share how that went, so other states can hear about it, and hopefully NAAS and all of us can also learn from you all along the way. So don't want to talk too much. I want to make sure you all can get more questions out. I hope we can have a few minutes of discussion.
Just if I could just build on what Hallie and Amanda said, we really want the National Association to be your association. And I don't just mean that. It's not just words. We exist to serve you academies. So it's a combination of sharing with you what we're learning at the national level and from you, learning from you, and creating a place where you can share with each other, both the good and the bad, safe place for that. And also for us to share things with you that we think would be of interest to you. So one example of that that's coming up is we have these monthly Academy chats, and we're developing a relationship with the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. They really would like to work with us, and we're trying to figure out what exactly that looks like. So we're dipping our toe in those waters in April, and we're going to have an Academy chat that's focused on how states are using their opioid settlement monies. The National Academies has done a kind of a landscape review of what different states are doing, and they would like to share what they've learned. North Carolina, I guess, has a very interesting is a very interesting example of that, and so they want to facilitate a conversation with North Carolina and our state academies so that we can all learn about what's happening. How is the state, you know, using those opioid settlement monies? So that's just one example of what we hope will be many similar kinds of examples over time, where we're building it within NAS that capacity for those kind of high, rich content interactions. Any questions?
Would also like to add, since we just talked about the toolkits, in the process of facilitating these strategic planning sessions with you all during this first year, our goal is to have a new toolkit that's about strategic planning. So for folks, again, who don't get a grant or decide this isn't the right time for them, or maybe for you all in 5 years when you go back and have to refresh your strategic plan, we'll have a toolkit on our website that will like help you walk through that process, and some resources for you the next time you have to do it, or for one of your counterparts in other states who want to do it. So that's one of our goals here, is like a resource that we're going to park there for posterity as well.
Craig?
So I think I heard that for these coaching calls, there's 2 available per year for any society. Is that true?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be really valuable for us right now. So I'll reach out. Who's the best to reach out to?
The admin at Academies of Science. I'll drop it in the chat again.
Okay.
Yeah, we really want people to take advantage of those calls.
I
So
see it.
look for
Okay.
more there. Good. Yeah. Look for more news and reminders from us to claim those calls and tell your fellow leaders.
Amanda, it looks like Ham came off mute briefly, right when Craig raised his hand. So I just want to check. Ham, do you have any questions?
Okay.
Maybe not.
Okay.
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
There was no question, but we have a couple of minutes left. We're really thrilled that so many of you showed up today, and hope that we see some applications by the middle of March.
Yeah.
And it seems like there might be a lot of maybe questions coming your way, Hallie, between now and then. But
I was going to say, if you have any questions that come up after this, definitely don't hesitate to send an email. I'm also happy to jump on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes and just talk it over if something's complicated or, not making sense. So you can send an email and I'll direct you toward a phone call from there. Probably would be easiest, just to make sure we have everything coming in one place.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to stay on and chat, I was gonna turn the recording off at 4:30, but if anybody wants to stay on and chat about this or anything else, like I'll stay on till 5 o'clock Eastern. So happy to just chat and catch up, because some of you I haven't ever really talked to you before. So happy to be here with you.
I would like to just make a quick statement. over the years, I have been involved with the MAS for some time and have been to the national when they were associated with AAAS and the NAAS and went through all of that. And I was impressed at different points, discouraged in others, frustrated in others. And I think this is a good effort to get involved states and get people involved and help students and perhaps help the chapters in each state. Just communication like this is a good start, but obviously it takes funds, money. You know, I don't know if President Trump would give us some, but we need money to operate some of these programs. That I'm just running off at the mouth, as they say, but I think this is important, and I really like this as a good effort. And I recognize that the foundation is I forget the name, Gordon Foundation, whatever. They are responsible for this effort, but it needs to be greater, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. I just would like to say before I sign off that this movement or new activity within NAAS is really intended to grow in a new area. It does not diminish at all our commitment to the American Junior Academy of Sciences. We were coming off of last weekend, or from the 12th to the 15th, we had 163 amazing young people in Boston celebrating them and their accomplishments. And it was absolutely an incredible experience, not just for them as students, but for us as adult board members, just watching, it's an antidote to all of this stuff that's going on. And these are just the future. And so we're not stepping back 1 millimeter from our commitment to ensuring that those students have the best possible opportunity in that event. And we had a breakfast with scientists last Friday morning, where we had these 163 students with 25 incredible scientists, including 2 Nobelists. And they spent 2 hours together, and who knew who was having more fun? Nobody wanted to leave. It was really, really incredible. We do that every year, and every year it just gets a little bit better. So just so you all know, our moving in this direction is no way means that we're not committed to AJAS.
Yep. And Joseph, what you said is right. Like, we're building capacity for you so that you can serve your members better, right? So that your students, your undergraduates, your faculty members, like all the members, all the scientists in your state, so that you can serve them better. Like, that's what we want for you, for all of your organizations. So yeah, thanks for bringing it back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, then let's stop the recording, Hallie. If anybody wants to stick around, let's do that. And if this is the end of your day, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I hope that we will see you again soon.